Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about The Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan, Book 5 in the Wheel of Time series. So, as usual, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. So, in Book 5 of the Wheel of Time series, we kind of pull back a little bit on the main overarching story plot a little bit. We get some progress going with the main overarching story, but we get way more character development in this story than we get plot development. But the main things that are happening in the plot, though, overall, is Rand and Matt have to deal with the other group of Aiel, the ones that are still basically pushing this old war that was going on. So he's taking the Aiel that he's just recruited and trying to go after them before he goes and deal with one of the Forsaken, who is basically posing as the leader of a country. Also, the from the last book, the original Amerlin seat, the one that we met, Swan, she has been basically deposed and stilled, so she has no powers. And there's a new one, the one of the underhanded ones that was, working her way behind the scenes. She's the new Amerlin, and now the rebellious Aes Sedai are basically, I think all the Blue Aja are trying to form an army to basically attack the White Tower in order to fix all the kerfuffle that's going on. So we got that going on. So apart from those few small main plot development bits that we get, the rest of the book really, as I said, is all character development. This book seems to mark the transition point between them being teenagers and them being adults, because a lot more adult activity is happening. For one, Matt is getting laid, Rand gets laid, and I mean, we were pretty sure Perrin is also getting laid because he's married and is not in this book because he's on his honeymoon. So everybody's getting a little more adult activities going on. We got Nynaeve trying to deal with her anger block a little bit so she can channel more freely and stuff. We got Elaine trying to kind of live up to herself being a daughter heir and stuff like that, trying to, kind of get herself up there. So I know I complimented Robert Jordan before for having enough confidence in his characters to basically have one be completely absent for an entire book and then have them come back later. While yes, that's true, and those reasons still, are still a thing. I just really don't like the fact that there's no parent. He's my favorite character, and there's no parent in this book, and it just hurts a little bit. And I'm like, oh, but I get it. He's probably just doing boring, well, not boring for him, but boring in general, just honeymoon stuff or whatever. So I kind of get why he's not needed for the overall what's going on, especially considering the overall plot, the main big plot of the series, doesn't get pushed forward too much in this story. I also noticed that Robert kind of pulled back on his world building explosion. In the last two books, we got a lot of world building and learned a whole bunch of stuff. In this one, we just kind of stay in the same areas that we're familiar with. The only places we travel to is the same cities that we've seen and heard of and all this kind of stuff. So there's not a whole lot of new stuff as far as world building goes, but there is a great expansion on the world building of the magic. We learn a lot more about the world of dreams, Tel Ronrield, and we see more examples of use of some of these Angreal and Terangreals and all the words that are way too similar but very hard to pronounce, all of that stuff. We see quite a lot more of the power and people's power scales and what can be done in the dream world, how powerful you can be depending on your will and stuff like that. So we do learn quite a bit. There is some expansion of the world. Technically, I guess you can consider that world building because we're learning new stuff about the magic and how it all works. But as far as the overall plot, instead of developing the characters, developing the magic, developing the world, and the plot all at the same time, it feels like Robert kind of picks and chooses. Last book felt like we're moving the main overarching plot forward quite a bit. We took a big step in that one. At least it felt like it. And then in this one, it's okay, we got to get the characters to catch up to where we got the plot to. Perrin is the only one that to me felt like he crossed that transition into adulthood already. And Robert probably felt similar. So that's probably why he's got Matt in here banging and got Rand in here banging and all this kind of stuff. I don't know, not to overly equivocate sex with adulthood, even though it is, that makes sense. But, um, So we see Rand kind of get over, like he was already feeling rebellious and pushing against the control that Moiraine had over him. So in this, we kind of get full fledged of that, like he is fully in his own power. We have nobles listening to him and all this kind of stuff. And even Moiraine kind of capitulates and says, "Okay, I'll work with you instead of just trying to lead you and control you. Like, okay, like let's work together." Basically, what I've been asking her to do forever. So it's really cool that she's this is almost perfected Moiraine in my opinion. Granted, she gets very like meek and kind of submissive a little bit in order to kind of at least be able to tell Rand something, to at least impart some kind of information. Granted, I don't like when she's, very much like that, but I kind of understand it and I kind of appreciate her compromising nature in this one a little bit. So my issue with her is kind of like all wiped out and then it's like just in time, I guess. But like, so that's really cool. Rand is basically like he's kind of almost done with his angst stuff. I don't know if it's because he's getting closer to full insanity or not, because he's having conversations with no one, with himself. He's going a little more, Dragon Reborn insane magic insanity. We know that's the whole thing, but like, so that's happening a bit more. And Matt, poor Matt, I love Matt so much. Matt is becoming definitely one of my favorites. I don't think Perrin is going to get knocked off the list at all, but Matt is definitely right up there next to him because the stuff that Matt goes through, like this man got hanged last time, and like it's been going through, he dies, and like there's just so much that he goes through. It just can't. But I feel like Matt just really just wants to carouse. He wants to go play cards. He wants to play dice. He wants to bang some chicks. He wants to flirt with some. He wants to sing a little bit, hang out with some bars. He just wants to live his life. He just wants to be very casual and cool. But the pattern is like, no, like you don't get to just go be a normal person. Like that is just not happening. You have to come and be epic and awesome and go do all the stuff you were not trying to do. Like, so that's basically Matt's doing right now. And I really, really, truly see how the fandom picks him out as like a favorite, because he's definitely one of my favorites at this point, because he is almost overpowered. He's got to be one of the most powerful people in the party just based on like the stuff he's got. Like, because when they're Royadon, he's got like his brain stuffed with all the knowledge of the old generals and stuff. We find out that his talisman thing is an anti-channeling medallion, so nobody can channel against him, or at least women. I don't know if it's totally confirmed that men can channel against him, but it seems like they can. But I don't know. That might have power level differentiations. I'm not quite certain, but so in general, like he's way more power than the average person, and all he really wants to do is be an average person. He's lucky and like got all that kind of stuff. So I really like that development a lot. So there's definitely some parts of this book that I really, really, really like, and there's some parts that I really, really didn't like. Like it feels like a lot of this book and a lot of the concept of the very sexually segregated kind of magic, the male half, female half stuff. It feels like Robert kind of had some commentary he wanted to give out about the idea of misogyny and sexism and stuff like that exists in real life. But with some of the characters in here, the way they basically always in their head is talking crap about men and basically alluding to the idea that men should just like be stupid or just shut up, stop talking, and just be led along because the women are so much smarter and wiser and all this stuff. They should just be like led along and do what they're told and this kind of stuff. It just kind of comes off in this way, but it feels like he's making commentary about real life sexism and all this stuff. But instead of just making a commentary or having a comment about the subject, you're doing the thing that you're accusing real life of doing. You're just doing the other way. Like, so it feels a little clumsy. I guess a clumsy kind of bit of commentary there. So, but overall, I do have to say this is pretty good. We got some really good action and battles at the end, and like got some really cool development of the magic and the way the magic is used and what you can do with the magic and stuff. Granted, we know more about the dream world, so I guess that automatically means we know more about the wolf dreams because it's the same location, but we don't yet know how strong a wolf brother can be in the dream world. So there's more stuff to be had there, but we learned a whole lot more about the dream world than we knew before. So that's really cool. And we just get Rand just get more and more powerful. He's got the little chubby guy figurine and stuff, and he's just like getting way more powerful. And I feel like it was mentioned before, but I don't know if it's truly a thing. Like the more power you use, the crazier you go quicker. But like I feel like that was a thing that was set up originally, but now it's kind of not really being a thing because he uses the power for everything. He channels out candles and things. So that's interesting. But like it feels like there also could be the caveat of there's so much power that he'd have to use a ridiculous amount to really push himself further insane quicker. But I don't know yet. I guess that'll, I just have to keep reading to kind of, definitively figure all that out. So I've been getting kind of spoilery a little bit in this discussion bit. So I want to jump over to spoilers so I can actually spoil some stuff and like talk about it. So spoiler warning for Fires of Heaven by Robert Jordan. So let me start off by talking about Rand. Rand is clearly getting more insane, and I kind of like it. I like magical insanity. I like the way Brandon uses it, and I'm starting to really like the way Robert is like hinting at using it. Granted, in the prologue of the first book, we got a decent idea of Lews Therin, the way his insanity was. It was just like no short-term memory and stuff like that, and forgetting who was dead and all that kind of stuff. It was a less dramatic kind of insanity, just kind of basic, not all there kind of thing. So now we've got Rand basically arguing with Lews Therin because Lews Therin, who has all his memories and his non-crazy self, basically is in Rand's head. I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it is, but Rand isn't sure if it's just like, these are just thoughts he has. This is like some sort of intuition or something, like, because he's picking up information and knowing things he shouldn't know that only Lews Therin knew and stuff like that. So he's getting more crazy, but it's happening way more subtle. And I think it's going to be the kind of crazy that's like he himself is still himself, but his brain and his pattern and the wheel itself gets all like jumbled up in all this stuff that it becomes basically outward insanity. So it's for all intents and purposes, he's still insane, but it's a much more self-torturous type of insanity. At least that's the kind of impression I'm getting. That's what it seems to be ramping up towards, which is why I think this weird three-wife thing is so stupid. It's so stupid to me. Like, even Lews Therin killed his wife, and he only had one. And now we're clearly, seriously pushing towards this three-wife thing. He sleeps with Aviendha after Aviendha has been basically saying, you belong to Elaine forever, to the point where it annoys the crap out of me. This man will speak to any woman, look at any woman, and she will probably go beat her up and then cuss him out, talking about, you belong to her, you belong to her, and all this kind of stuff. But while you all at the same time got a crush, and then soon we in the igloo, you want to bang. Like, it's so annoying. Like, granted, if something like that just happened, very basic, like if she was set up like just generic bodyguard and all this kind of stuff, like she more or less was by the wise women, it was just the stuff that the girls had going on, trying to claim him. But nobody has asked Rand if he wanted to be claimed. Is he in love with Elaine like that? Does he want to be, shuffled and compartmentalized by Aviendha like that? And then clearly he doesn't quite know, because he's clearly into Aviendha enough to sleep with her. And then, like, what about men? Every time he talks about a girl that he doesn't understand, he always goes back to men. Like, men is so easy to understand, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's really cool and all this stuff. So, like, so it's going to be men, Elaine, and Aviendha? Like, I don't get it. Why does he need three wives? What purpose does it serve? When he's going crazy, I'm guessing there's going to be some type of awesome happy ending where his sanity is restored, and like, but even still, you can just have three. Granted, it's a Aiel thing or whatever, and like they have multiple husbands and wives and things. It's just, to me, in my little 2021 head, it's a little ooky. I don't know. Polyamory is one thing, but that's a little different. That I don't know. So I'll just leave that whole thing alone. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. If he's going to get with men, if he's going to get with any of them, right now I'm more okay with him being with Aviendha, because he's actually been with her. He's been communicating with her, spending time with her. The fact that Elaine fell in love with him after having met him basically once, I thought was incredibly stupid. And then they kept going with that. And Min hasn't seen him since he was basically himself, his normal self, since he was back in the Two Rivers. So like, who he is now is so significantly different from what he was, and y'all still up here having a conversation like we both in love with him, we gonna marry him and all this stuff. Like, this man is losing his mind. Like, he could become a complete total dictator. I don't get why this gets page time. I really don't. I really, really don't, and it bugs me. But I'm just gonna let it go, because otherwise that's all the video is. And Matt, as I've said, I am really truly seeing how everyone, or not everyone, but just a lot of people in the fandom says Matt is their favorite. He is really, like I said, becoming one of my favorites, because this boy just wants to hang out. He just wants to like sleep with one of the spear fighters or whatever. Just wants to, give a girl a kiss and a smile and a little cuddle or whatever. Like, he just seems so like a basic person, like a very normal, run of the mill kind of everyday person, especially in this time period in his world and stuff. He just wants to gamble a little bit, play some cards, talk to girls, eat some food. He just wants a very normal, easy to understand, so relatable, kind of simple life. But the universe, the wheel, the pattern said no. You got your luck. I mean, granted, that was why he was probably getting more into gambling and stuff because he basically can't lose. So that's a little bit of a cheat. But like, you got your luck. You got the medallion thing that makes you immune to channeling. You got the fluent and the old tongue. You're fluent in ancient language. And your brain is stuffed full of all the best battle knowledge, probably going as far back to the world breaking or whatever. So, like, you like, sorry Matt, but you can't be normal. You have to go be awesome. Sorry. Like, and that's kind of Matt's entire storyline. It's like he just wants to leave. He was literally leaving. He was going with other people. He was like, yeah, when they leave, I'm peacing out too. We gone. But he's like, okay, but I can't let part of your army get attacked, so I got to go help. And then like using his knowledge and stuff, he being all epic and being like, oh well, crap, well there's some more coming. Like, and then he just ends up like snowballing all these people and like being like the general for everything, and just lucking his way. Not even luck, but like more bad luck for his perspective, but just like lucking his way into just being epic. Like it's just like, sorry Matt, you gotta go be cool. Like that's all it is to it. But he, apart from just like stumbling into really cool things and like just epic things, we also got like some pretty decent little bit of tragedy for him because he was dating one of the daughters of the spear, and well, dating was sleeping with, but you could tell he was feeling something for her. He kept asking her about has she heard of the daughter of the nine moons and all this stuff because he was like kind of starting to wonder like could this be her? Like am I going to end up marrying her? Because I think if it turned out to have been her, he would have been okay with it. So he was like really digging her and all this stuff. They had, she was encouraging him to find his own glory and quit living in Rand's shadow and all this kind of stuff. And then it turns out she's a dark friend. And I picked it up like a second before he did, as she was dying. And she's like, you got the great one's own luck. I'm like, that's not what you call the dark one. Like, you call him the great one if you're a dark friend. I'm like, oh, Matt, dang, you was dating a dark friend, didn't know. And then because she found out he was basically going to go ahead and, be awesome as he's supposed to be, she's like, oh crap, well, we got to try to kill him. And him being just so awesome, he instinctually just throws the knife at her and kills her immediately and just found out she was a dark friend and stuff. And I mean, he took it pretty, I mean, he kind of, he was dealing with it, but I'm pretty sure that's definitely going to weigh on his head. We'll probably get some aftermath of that later in another book or something. Because that's definitely, like, it kind of weighed on him a bit, but, Matt, he just tried to kind of let things roll off his shoulder. But I feel like it's going to become, a bigger deal for him later. And last but not least, the other character I want to like really talk about here, since I can't talk about Perrin because there's no Perrin. Let's talk about Moiraine. So I've said before in previous reviews that I had issues with the way Moiraine is very secretive and the way she kind of just leads Rand on the leash and stuff like that. Like I had a lot of issues with that because I was more on like Rand's side, like show some agency, show some autonomy, like take control of this. You're a big deal in this. And when he actually starts to do it, I was appreciating it, but he started to shut Moiraine out. And I was like, oh, like, I mean, like, okay, I get it, I understand, I see the reason and all that stuff. But like as it was going on, I'm like, as it continued, I'm like, you gotta kind of let her in because she definitely knows some stuff, and she went through that other, the magic archway thing that like told her the three different things, so she knows some stuff. But she's not obviously going to just tell anybody anything because it's not Moiraine. But like either way, like yes, kind of shut her out a little bit, prove your autonomy, take your own actions and stuff like that, do that bit, but don't push her away so much. That's like pushing away Gandalf and the elves when you need information about the One Ring and stuff. It's just I don't know, like, so the nature of her kind of like basically swallowing her pride, all her Aes Sedai pride, and like she made a loyalty oath to Rand, basically promising to obey him and all this stuff, just as long as he just let her help. Like she needs to help. Like she needs to be able to like keep helping because it's such a big deal. And like it, capitulates and all this stuff. But then it all culminates in like the ultimate version of, apart from her being, kind of meek and a little like, too subservient. I don't really like when I like when she, more, gung ho, and I really like, while it was kind of funny, Lan just being her hype man, like he still kind of was in this, especially when she was doing like the being kind of meek to Rand. He didn't appreciate it. So like, I kind of, it's weird. It's like I got what I asked for, but I kind of missed the way she was before. But then I do love the fact that it culminates in this hugely selfless act that she does. Because of the three paths that she saw when she went through the archway thing, the least terrible of the three options was her dying and killing Lanfear. So, but in that scene when she like jumps through the archway with her, and it just, to me, it kind of felt like the most cliche like wizard mentor kind of person death. So like if she was to pop back up later, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But the fact that Lan's bond to her broke and he starts to feel the bond to the other Aes Sedai, that makes me feel like she actually is dead. And based on what the letter said about the three options and stuff like that, makes me feel like she knows she actually is dead. We're just probably not actually going to see a body. But because they've been hinting at the idea of healing Stilled, like Nynaeve wants to try to heal Swan Stilling, which is something thought to be completely impossible. And same thing, like death is impossible to fix through channeling, but going through one of those archways isn't necessarily death. So part of me thinks book 10 or 11 or something like that, she's going to come back. So I still kind of feel like we're going to have a little Gandalf the White, Moiraine the Undead situation kind of happen. Something. I don't know. But I don't want them to bring Lanfear back because she got tired. Like her whole shtick kind of got wore out for me. But I kind of want Moiraine to come back. I don't know if she will, but maybe she will. I don't know. Who knows? You just got to keep reading to find out. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because I've been talking for a long time now. And yeah, while this one isn't my favorite in the series so far, it's okay. If I take out the Perrin consideration, this is probably my third favorite because it goes like 4, 3, then this one, then 2, then 1. But the take into the Perrin consideration, then this drops to the bottom. Any book without Perrin in it in this series automatically is least favorite. It's so biased, so terrible. But that's kind of how it feels. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Let me ask you all, leave a comment down below. What was your favorite part of the story? What was one of the coolest things? Was it Rand using the Bellfire to bring Matt and everybody back to life by wiping out the one guy, which is a thing I completely forgot to talk about. um, So I guess we talk about it a little bit real quick. So at the end of the book, when after we find out Elaine's mom is dead, not like we find out that or Rand thinks she's dead, and he feels really responsible because he basically told Elaine he's going to take care of her mom and all this kind of stuff. He's like, I'm going to do the stuff that I need to do. Then we're going to go and like make sure we take back over that place so that everything can be cool and blah 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 blah. So the guy who is masquerading as the mom's like kind of pseudo boyfriend, who was one of the Forsaken, Rand goes after him, and like he physically goes into the dream world to tell Unreal. And but the way in which the scene happens, it's very unclear that that's what happened. I didn't understand it until we get Nynaeve and the one lady like freaking out, like he's here in the flesh, this can't be the thing, blah blah blah. I didn't understand that's what was going on until they mentioned it, and it's like it's kind of annoying when you do stuff like that. Similar to Avienda, I didn't quite realize she did the equivalent of, well, the more advanced version of skimming, the one where you don't have to go through the black empty space to get to the next place, you teleporting basically. I didn't quite realize she did that until Rand went through, but but yeah, that last fight was really really cool. I really liked how he was chasing them all over the place, and then I like the use. He just basically proves, like, they give all these warnings about Bellfire and stuff like that. Like it's very dangerous and blah 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 because you can erase the things that happened, and you don't know, butterfly effect. You don't know what happens if you erase a little bit of time. But he just so happens to have done it in such a, actually twice in a lucky way, because when they got attacked by the Darkhounds and Rand killed the Darkhounds, it basically erased the fact in time that the Darkhound slobbered all over Matt's hand and arm and stuff, and it was going to kill him. So, but the poison is so dangerous that even the fact that that was erased didn't completely save him. Moiraine like helped heal him, and that was how they found out that the thing didn't allow for channeling. When she healed him, though, it saved him, because even time displaced Darkhound venom is deadly apparently. But when Rand goes and uses Balefire against the Forsaken guy who had just killed, I think Avienda and Matt and like a few other like big people, like holy crap, they just got freaking killed and stuff. And then like he kills him with such a blast that it removes what he did technically about a minute ago. So it kind of erases a little bit of like a chunk of time. Like so it has this very beneficial kind of result in bringing them back, but we don't really know what else it undid. I feel like that could be a consequence later, or maybe we'll just kind of leave it alone. But okay, now I'm going to stop talking and go to finally end the video and say, have you all read Fires of Heaven? If you are this far in the video, then I'm pretty sure you have. So let me know what your favorite part of the story was in the comments down below. And